They're all in Nebraska. All of our investments are just about 50 miles from us in a college town. We were, I always tell people we were the Burr method before it was a Burr method. Like we were buy and hold, like that's just what we did. I didn't even know that was a thing until like Bigger Pockets said, I'm like, oh, well, that's what we do. Because my husband was more the brains behind it. He was the numbers. He would, go and I knew how to calculate if it was going to be cash flow. But it was like he was pretty much the numbers guy. And I was just along for the ride to be the supportive person on the back end. And we just accumulated properties over 20 years. But honestly, we did it very slowly and probably not the wrong way because we took action. And I don't think there's really a wrong way when you take action. But we did it scared. We didn't have the right mentors. We kind of pulled back sometimes when we probably should have pulled the trigger. We were having babies. I was taking care of the babies. I was building my coaching business. He was farming. So for 9 months out of the year, farming took his life, and so it was like, we had like 3 months to kind of do this and not really because we had other things and we were doing everything. Like we were the plumber, we were the contractor, we were the property managers, we were doing applications, everything.
All right, welcome to the Real Estate Law Podcast. Jason Muth here with straightforward short-term rentals and pride away stays. We're here with Rory Gill from Urban Village Legal, our resident attorney, broker. Rory, today we're going to be talking about legacy wealth and leaving stuff behind for the people we care about, such as our daughter, such as our guests' 5 daughters. And we've gone to the heartland, to one of the 5 states I've never been to, Nebraska, to find an excellent conversationalist on this topic.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited. I was a little nervous with the title, like, oh no, I'm not. But I read in your thing, it was like not so much about law. So I'm like, okay, I think I can bring some value. I'll let Rory do the law.
Yeah, Rory can speak the law. Everyone thinks I'm an attorney also, Rory. I don't know why. Maybe it's
because you're the co-host of the Real Estate Law Podcast. I think that'll do it.
That's right. They just assume that.
Okay, let's formally introduce our guest, though. Everyone knows who we are if you listen to this podcast. This is Tabitha Thorell. She's from Nebraska. What city in Nebraska are you from?
It's a little tiny town called Loomis.
All right. Well, I've never been to the state, but I will add that to my list when I get there. For some reason, Nebraska, Kansas, both Dakotas, and Utah are the 5 that I haven't been to. So I could hit 4 in one trip, which would be driving up and down, know, and then I have to get to Utah separately. But so thank you so much for recording with us. Tab is with, she's an investor and the speaker and a coach with Live Fierce, the Legacy Wealth Project. It's right there in your name. You firmly believe in leaving behind a legacy for your children. You have 5 beautiful daughters. You went 5 for 5. We went 1 for 1. You went 5 for 5.
5 for
Congratulations. 5. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and you've been in the real estate game, investing for many, many years. You started this back in college, and you've built a 7-figure real estate portfolio, which started as a side hustle, and now you have something to leave behind for your family many, many, many decades from now, when it's your time to cross the rainbow bridge, as we say with our pets.
Yes.
So why did you think this was important to do when you started building your legacy, and how have you come to building the Legacy Wealth Project?
Well, I have to really give credit to my husband, because when we were in college, we were high school sweethearts. And so we were like, we're going to get married when we're done with college. And neither one of us knew we were going to do a 9-to-5, right? Like we knew there was going to be no retirement plan for us. The government was not going to take care of us. And so when we were in college, my husband was like, hey, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to live in the basement and have tenants upstairs. Do you want to help renovate it and be part of the process? And so I'm like, of course, like, yeah, let's renovate it. Let's make it look pretty and, do all the things. And so we got on board. He bought the house, like 9 layers of wallpaper later. We had renovated. My husband is very skilled in construction. And so, we made the house look nice, and we're like, gung ho, like, let's do this. I mean, ultimately, he wanted to live rent-free, but we did see it as a way, like our future kids, like we wanted something for them because we didn't want to be working when we were 70 years old. We wanted a retirement plan, and we did see that at a young age. I think just because we saw what our parents went through. Our parents were blue collar. His dad was a farmer. Mine was an electrician, constantly working for somebody else, never getting ahead. we wanted to get ahead. And we saw that at a very young age.
What's fascinating there is, again, this is stuff that was not taught to me when I was a child. And Rory, your parents worked, they worked jobs into their 60s also. And, my father worked into his 60s. My mother retired early because of a disability. But nobody ever told us that you can go find your own pathway. And somehow people were figuring this out while they're in college. The guest that we actually had on recently also who went to art school, he did the same exact thing. Where he started investing in real estate when he's in college. And kudos to all of you who've discovered that. But Rory, you and I just missed that boat. We just worked these W-2 jobs, or you were an entrepreneur your entire career.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Rory.
It's just amazing. I mean, when we talk to these people who have so much foresight back, when you're in college, to me, the concept of legacy wealth and building wealth seemed kind of abstract and something that we do later on. We have this unlimited runway in our life, so we'll just take care of that later on. Right. But the people who really achieve it are the ones who have that foresight and start earlier.
Yeah. So Tab, what does legacy wealth mean to you?
So it's funny you ask this because, and Rory, to go off what you said, I was not raised where money was flowing and wealth building and, estate plan. We didn't have anything. So there was nothing to plan. It was debt, right? So for me, I feel what I saw was scarcity of health because my mom was sick and scarcity of money. And I didn't want that for my kids. So I said, what can I do to change it? So I feel that was the catalyst. So when we were coming up with legacy wealth, a lot of people have a negative viewpoint of the word money or wealth. We think it's this old white guy that's, been a stockbroker his whole life or whatever wealth means to them. And so when I'm a big fan of words. And so I said, but what does it really mean? Because wealth doesn't just mean money, because you can have a wealth of knowledge. You can have a wealth of relationships. So when we created this, I debated whether it was the family legacy project, which in some podcasts you'll hear me say that because it was kind of interchangeable to me, because the legacy that you leave with your family is the wealth, right? What you leave, the stamp, the impression you leave on people, that is the legacy that you want. And when we're talking wealth and when we are talking assets and money, so many people are like you, Jason, and you, Rory, where we weren't taught that. We don't think, I don't really have stuff of value. It's not that big of a deal. But whatever you have to leave to your kids or to your nieces and your nephews, even if you don't have kids yet, whatever footprint you want to leave matters. And you have to be intentional. But we live in a world of busyness. And so, I'll get to it later. I'll get to doing the will later. I'll get to doing the assets later. And you're speaking to the choir, I'm speaking to myself here, because I did this program because it forced me to do these things with my family and to say, what are the important things? If I build a business and I net $1 million and I die tomorrow, what good is that if I didn't teach my girls what to do with that to help them advance in this world so that they get to make an impact using their gifts and not have to just do a job that they think they have to do? What good is that? It did me good for a minute, but then it died with me. And that's what I was seeing. I was doing research on legacy wealth, and it was 90% of wealth is gone by third generation. I don't want my great grandkids to not know what I did here on this earth. I want them to be Grandma Tab did this and she taught us this and we're doing this and we're making impact and philanthropy and money's just a resource and a tool that we get to do those things.
You already have your grandma name down, huh? Grandma Tab?
No, I'm not going to be Grandma Tab, but it just flowed right there. I don't know. I might be Mimi or I don't know. Who knows?
I like it. I don't know. I like it. Grandma Tab.
Grandma Tab.
Wealth has such a strange connotation, doesn't it? I mean, just that word, the more that you say it, the more I'm hearing it also as, if you want to be that noble person that is living an upstanding life and showing people that they care about others, wealth feels a little dirty.
Yeah.
It just does, but it shouldn't be, because money allows us to buy our time back and do things with it, right? And wealth, you could have, as you mentioned, not just wealth of money, but you could have wealth of character. You could have wealth in your family. You could just, be a wealthy person with lots of knowledge. Yep. So, I want to kind of move away from the negative connotation of that term. And, you probably hear it all day, every day, since it's part of how you've branded, even though you kind of evolve away from that word in some other podcasts. But leaning into legacy wealth, I think having legacy helps temper the word wealth a bit, because you're suggesting that you're not just doing this out of greed.
Yep.
And let's face it, we all work so we could fund the lives that we want to live, feed our families, roof over the head, and then maybe leave some when we go. And that's essentially what you've done. You've just done it on an entrepreneurial basis, but by defining it as legacy wealth, which I love, you're saying we're doing this so we could pass it on to the next generation and the next generation and kind of set our families up for future success.
Yes, absolutely.
So, as you've done it, so tell us about your investing. What have you done? Have you spent your whole life in Nebraska, or did you go to school elsewhere? You did? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Where are your investments? Are they in Nebraska?
Yep, they're all in Nebraska. All of our investments are just about 50 miles from us in a college town. We were, I always tell people we were the Burr method before it was a Burr method. We were buy and hold. That's just what we did. I didn't even know that was a thing until Bigger Pockets said, I'm like, oh, well, that's what we do. Because my husband was more the brains behind it. He was the numbers. He would, go and I knew how to calculate if it was going to be cash flow, but it was he was pretty much the numbers guy. And I was just along for the ride to be the supportive person on the back end. And we just accumulated properties over 20 years. But honestly, we did it very slowly and probably not the wrong way, because we took action. And I don't think there's really a wrong way when you take action, but we did it scared. We didn't have the right mentors. We kind of pulled back sometimes when we probably should have pulled the trigger. We were having babies. I was taking care of the babies. I was building my coaching business. He was farming. So for 9 months out of the year, farming took his life, and so it was we had 3 months to kind of do this, and not really, because we had other things, and we were doing everything. We were the plumber, we were the contractor, we were the property managers, we were doing applications, everything. And so finally I'm we either have to get rid of these or we have to hire people, because this mama can't do it all. And I valued our family time. See, I always had a vision for our family. And like you said, buying the time back, that was really important to me. What kind of lifestyle do we want to live if we don't have time? If we're time poor and money rich, I'm still poor. I'm not wealthy in my head. So that was my vision. So I said, we've got to do some things differently. And so the last 2 years is where I said, we need to hire more people. We need to expand our portfolio. So we're in contract to do some storage units. Also being a lender for other people, because I saw that as a stronghold for people. They wouldn't invest in real estate because they didn't know where the money came from. So I was oh my gosh, I just went to this conference and they told me how I can get money. I need to share this with people. I need to show people that there's money out there. And so now us becoming the lender for people is a new avenue, a new skill set that I'm learning, that we can take our real estate to the next level.
Yep. I mean, there's no real wrong way at all, as you said, as long as you're taking action. Yeah. So I want to underline that, when you're taking action, you're doing better than the vast majority of people. And I also think, the only real wrong way is if you don't learn and grow over time.
Right.
We came in and we started buying properties slowly as well. But I think there's a lot of value in getting there and doing the work and things. And yeah, if you're doing that 10 years into it, you haven't expanded, you're not hiring people, you're not buying back your time. But knowing knowing all the work that goes into the property really informs everything else you do. Now you know who to hire, the right way to hire, how much things are really worth. Yep. You can really feel it in a way that you can't if you just read about it.
Right. And that kind of goes with the whole Legacy Wealth project. We tell people to buy a single family home and rent it out and do the work yourself. I mean, some people are oh, I absolutely can't, but at least be a part of the process and bring your kids in on the process. Even if it's just cleaning out the property or, just doing little things like bringing your kids in and showing them the hard work. Now, we teach our kids to work smarter, not harder, but how can they work smarter if they don't know what harder looks like? Yep. So they need to rip out the carpet. They need to cut the weeds a little bit. And we have daughters, and they're in there, they're doing the thing. They're going through the walls and painting and doing some stuff because it teaches them the process of it. And even if it just teaches them, hey, I don't want to do that kind of real estate, it's teaching them something, right? It's hands-on rather than just saying, oh, we took our money and we invested it in like a syndication or another project where we're completely hands-off. Yes, that's great for our real estate portfolio, but what are we teaching our kids? Like, we have to teach them all the levels because we know that's where the wealth is. We know that's where the tax strategy is. So if we want to teach them the high level, we also have to be willing to teach them the low level. And I'm a big believer. Jesus washed the disciples' feet. So I should be in there just at least knowing how to do it. Now, yes, I need to be smarter and hire it out so I can scale and grow and buy my time back. But if I don't even know what it's worth, then my wealth of knowledge is very shallow.
Such a huge fan of that process because, first of all, you get work done that you don't want to do because your kids are doing it, right? Number one. But no, in all honesty, I mean, we have short-term rentals and we clean them before we turn them over to a cleaner to clean, just so we could see what the process is like.
Yes.
And, we do a little bit more hands-on work than the average person, but you're probably in that same boat from when you built your portfolio.
Yep.
If you're acting in all those different roles. And at some point you realize either A, you don't want to do it anymore, or B,
Yep.
your time is more valuable to do something else, to grow the business, to spend with the family, that you hire that out and then you trade money for somebody else's expertise and time.
Yes.
Throw the little asterisks of like, hey, daughters, you guys should like learn, what it's like to get your fingers dirty and what that process is like. And you might like it, you might not like it, but if you do it, you could at least say that you did it and figure out if it goes into the column of like, yes, I enjoy doing this, or
Yep.
no, I want to hire this out, right?
Yep.
I don't mind going outside and watering our garden, right?
Yep.
I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, I don't really want to dig the hole for the plants. I'll do it because it's relatively easy. But if it gets hard, I mean, Rory, at the short-term rental that we built 2 years ago, I hired out the planting of the beds, something I easily could have done. But like my gardener happened to mention that he did it. And I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, can you quote it? He quoted it. But I said, when can it be done? He said Tuesday. I said, perfect. It's done.
But contrast that to the first short-term rental that you bought, where you spent a weekend moving boulders around to get everything just right and did all the landscaping yourself. You learned what goes into it. You did the work, and now you know what it takes, and now you can hire it out intelligently.
Yeah.
That was a foolish enterprise that weekend. I will tell you that. And Tab will tell you this. This is a story. Rory was on vacation with his mother. They were in Ireland. And I went up to our first property, and we just bought land next door. And there was a big, big rock wall between the land, dividing up back in the 1800s, one parcel from another. We inherited this long rock wall. So I was like, oh, those rocks would look great as a border for this bed over this other property. Well, silly me thought it would be easy to kind of move these heavy rocks, even in a wheelbarrow, from one property to another. And that was not fun. No. And I realized I never want to do this again. So
there you go. You learned, right? Go. Like you built that
learned.
Character, right? That's what wealth building is. Like for me, when we talk about this, it's like, what characteristics do I need to instill in my kids so that when I give them anything, whether it's a house, whether it's money, whether it's a car, whatever, that they have the characteristics to do something wise with it instead of something stupid, because we just see, the stupidity run rampant in people that are wealthy because they were never taught that. I always said if I, whether I was born a millionaire or not, like my kids would, I'd send them to like military camp or work camp or something, get their hands dirty, feel what labor working your body. Now, should you do that the rest of your life? No. You need to learn and become educated and wise and go up on the chain of what, wealth really means. But if you're not willing to do the work, I feel like there's so much pride and arrogance into that too, and entitlement. And I just didn't want my kids to feel entitled, so that's really a core foundation of the project.
Mm-hmm.
So what steps are you taking to proactively instill the work ethic and also just the financial literacy in your daughters?
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, if we have a rental, they come and they help us, clean it out. That is something we still currently do ourselves. Again, that's probably the last piece of the puzzle that I'll probably hire some college kids. We almost did that this year. I was like, hey, I bet there's some college, football guys that'd be willing to, take out this furniture. And my husband's like, we're here. Let's just do it. I'm like, come on. And I can do it. So he knows that. So we're doing it together, but we'll do clean out. They'll help us paint. They'll do the, whatever, clean, do stuff. They've been doing that since they were young. I mean, we take them on projects and be doing stuff because we do longer term rentals. So, I mean, I swear, even a college student in 1 year, they can hoard a lot of stuff and they just leave it because they can only take what they can fit in their car. So we get bikes and all this stuff. And so they think it's kind of fun. So we do that. But I mean, my husband's a farmer. So like today, my oldest daughter and my middle daughter, they're laying out pipe, which if you guys don't know, we have to irrigate our land. So you have to take these big, long things of pipe and, you have to put it along the field so your crop gets watered. So they're still doing those things, but I'm teaching them, hey, you guys, this is manual labor. But if you read this book, I will also pay you $10. So like books that challenge their mind, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, I will give them money for that because I'm like, you are investing in your mind. I don't want to just give them money for labor intensive jobs. I want to give them money also that's investing in their mind and growing their mindset. I'll just tell you a little story. My oldest daughter is going to be 15. And we always told them, we will match whatever you make to help buy your car. So if you can earn $3,000, you're going to get a $6,000 car. If you earn $6,000, you're going to get a $12,000, whatever, right? So they've been working and saving and doing those things, and we've taught them to save and do that. But we've also said, okay, you're going to save right now for this car, but what if you could buy an income property and have the tenants pay you while you're in school? Because my girls are in a lot of activities. So during the school year, they don't really get to make money. And so my oldest daughter, we've been telling them this since they were like 10 years old. One day, my oldest daughter just said, Mom, stop. Just stop talking about money. Like, I just can't. Like, just stop. And I said, okay, whoa. Like, there's something going on here. So I said, okay, just tell me right now. You're obviously very, like, emotional about this. So tell me what's going on. And she said, well, I just don't want to talk about it. I said, what do you think it would take to have an income property, like what Daddy and I have? And she said, well, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to like get a lot of money to like, go to the bank and buy this house that's like worth a lot of money. She kept saying worth a lot of money. And then you're gonna have to go and you're going to have to find the right people and you're going to have to put them in there and you're going to have to do all these things and you have to go and you're going to have to fix all this stuff and it's just going to take a lot of time. And I just don't know. I said, okay, what if you and I, we drove around the town that we buy properties in and we found a property, or maybe we even do the easier way and we could find something online through an agent, and we found a property and we just went on a calculator and we figured out, oh, this one's good. This is going to give you a profit of this amount. And I work with you every step of the way and we kind of make it fun. And then Daddy and I go with you and we either find a loan or we find a banker that is going to loan us the money, and we help back your credibility. And then we go and we introduce you to our property manager company, and then they find the people to put in the house. Do you think that you could just communicate with the property manager once a month? And she goes, well, yeah, that sounds easy. I realize so many people, they think it's this big mountain. They think they have to have all this money and they have to save and save and save for years and years and years. And then they're going to be the plumber. They're going to be the slumlord. They're going to be all these things. And they built it up in their head to where they don't take the first step. And I said, but what if you know the who? For my daughter, it's us. We're her mentors. We would be her backing. We would probably be her bank, right? But we would teach her the interest rate. We would teach her those things and we'd be a long step of the way. And she's like, well, yeah, I could totally do that. So I think that's what we're doing for our kids. We're just breaking these things down and we're bringing the veil, this illusion that everything is hard and money is hard and we have to do this. And we're saying, but what if it wasn't? And then if there was an obstacle, you have us, you have your mentors. And adults can do the same thing because there's coaches out there, there's mentors out there that are willing to do the thing for you. And so that's really how we're teaching them, is just coming alongside them. We're still going to let them fail. Like, they still have to be accountable if they take this leap to do those things, but we're going to be there to coach them until they can fly out of the nest.
Tab, at what point did you find other people doing something similar to what you're doing with your kids? Like, have you and your husband been at this, were you at it for a decade before you discovered other couples or other parents that kind of were instilling a similar value in building a real estate portfolio that generated income? Or, had you had some people along the way that you found, or talk about that a bit?
Well, my husband started because his dad, when my husband was 15, his dad bought his first income property, not because he knew what he was doing, but because he didn't want to buy cows anymore. He didn't want to have cattle, so he bought real estate. So he just jumped in. I think his brother had bought a piece of real estate. His brother was a contractor, so my husband's uncle kind of knew that. So he kind of saw it from like outsiders. But then honestly, what got me around other people that were looking at things differently, they weren't necessarily looking at real estate. They were just looking at entrepreneurship and like investing in your kids differently. When I was in my network marketing company, I met a lot of people like-minded like that. And then it was just the masterminds that I paid to be in, I paid to play, and I was around these other people that they were 7-figure earners, 8-figure earners, and they were doing things differently. They were talking to their kids differently. They were teaching their kids, to pay them to read personal development books, because kids don't naturally want to read that, right? But if they do, if they have a motive, and even if it's one little nugget that sticks in their head, that can serve them so much. My daughter's going into high school. Do you think the book How to Win Friends and Influence People will help her? Yes, it will. But to get her to read that over, a summer romance novel book or whatever she's reading right now, I have to entice her a little bit. So it's like, hey, $10, you just read, and you can even do it on Audible. I don't even care. You don't even have to read it. Just listen to it while you mow, because she loves to mow. So she, doing those things, just trying to teach them. But kids, it's not like you tell them one thing and they're going to just do it. Be like, oh yes, mom. I told you guys, we taught our daughters since they were 10 years old to invest in real estate. My one daughter comes to me, Mom, what do we do? What is it that you do again? So it's like they've lived it, but because it's their normal, they really haven't received it yet. But I do believe, like, you train a child up how, when they're young and when they're old, they will come back to it. So it's like we're just planting these seeds. And for me, in real estate, I'm learning constantly. Now that I have taken an active role in our like real estate portfolio and expanding it and doing the lending and doing some different kind of deals, I'm like, oh, they're going to know this. They're going to learn this. My husband's more passive. He's more cautious. He's always been behind the scenes, numbers, done things. And I'm more like aggressive, like, okay, we have 10 properties. How can we double that in 2 years? Like, let's go, let's move and like take the risks. And that's kind of what we're trying to teach our kids, is like, you have to have that steadfast growth, but you also have to have that action mentality too, in order to learn.
Rory, we've heard from a lot of people that do what they do for their families. I mean, that's kind of why a lot of people get into real estate investing, maybe because they didn't have a job elsewhere and they have to make money somehow. But we've never really done like a deep dive like this with somebody that completely involves their entire family and from start to finish teaches them what it is that a real estate investor does, gets them involved and excited in the process and understanding the value of that level of work. It's a theme that comes up, but just not to this level, right?
No, it's a really common theme for people to say they're doing this for their family, and we kind of talk about what it means to support your family, but we haven't really gone beyond that. And I think that is incredibly important to do. So I'm glad we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 5 short-term rental properties now, and we kind of joke that our daughter, because we stay in them too. Like, we go in these properties, we stay in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Long-term rental, you can't really do that, right? Because you're turning over an apartment, right? Yep. So it would be awkward if you did. Let's put it that way. But like our daughter knows the houses. Like, oh, which one are we going to? The log house or the blue house or the small house? And like, in the back of our head, and she knows that we work. Like whenever we're there, we're always doing something. There's always some project that we're doing. And, we're elevating ourselves out of the business to an extent as well. Like we don't do our cleanings, like a lot of the work, the handyman work and everything. We do some of it and then we, outsource a lot of it. But, she sees us working, but she also doesn't fully get it yet. She's only 5, right? So she's still young, but we also don't want to raise her to be telling all of her friends about all of her houses, right? Like it just seems awkward. Like it seems like, oh, I'm going to go to this house this weekend and then that house this weekend. But, I feel like you're kind of coaching us on a different approach that we could take, which is involving her a little bit. And we do talk about it. We say, hey, we have to go take care of this, or this delivery is coming, or we're doing this because this is how we make money and this is how money comes in. So we could, feed ourselves and do all these fun things.
Yep.
But, I think that in these next maybe 5 years, right, as she starts to kind of figure out things out, that there's more to the world than what revolves around her, which is really the mind of a 5-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll try to weave this in as best as we can, and a lot of this is great advice. Is this, you mentioned coaching and consulting as well. Like, have you've taken that leap into that world, obviously.
Yep.
Are these the types of conversations that you're having with the students that you work with?
Yeah, so this project has been this ongoing. See, I was a coach in fitness and personal development. And so when we decided to take this leap, it came to in my head in 2019. We had 2 more babies. COVID happened. It took the wayside. We bought some more properties as, life happens. So in 2024, I said, I really want to develop this. I want to do like a mastermind with parents and also include the kids, and the kids could mastermind together, because I just feel like getting kids surrounded by other kids who have entrepreneurial parents, especially if they invest in real estate, it empowers them. Because like you said, your daughter's going to go to school and be like, which house am I going to, and her friends are going to say, oh my gosh, you entitled spoiled brat, or whatever negative thing, because they don't have that, right? And kids just naturally do that. But your daughter, you put her in a room with my daughters and they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. We just went to our house in Florida, or, oh, we did this thing, right? Like they become like that like-minded to where it's not wrong. And so it doesn't instill limiting beliefs in your daughter where she thinks, oh my gosh, I have to be embarrassed about money or embarrassed about my houses. Because I have some friends, they are embarrassed about the money that their parents made because their parents didn't teach them like money is a tool and like how to talk about it in humility and in the right circles, right? Like we talk about this in scripture, like if you speak to pigs, you're going to get pigs speak back. Like you have to talk with other people who are uplifted. So I said, can we bring this to fruition where we can teach people how to buy income properties if they haven't, or expand and really build that wealth and not just have one and feel like you're drowning. And also create an environment where, entrepreneurial couples can come and talk about how they can grow their businesses, how they can grow their portfolios, and then kids can come together and talk about maybe they have a business idea, or, hey, let's do a fun game where everybody finds a property and whatever, like doing this together where they get to do the work, but it becomes fun because it should be fun. Money doesn't have to be this like heavy thing. But I feel like as parents, because we don't understand it, we don't explain it to kids, and it becomes this heavy thing. We might be embarrassed of the houses that we have because we have some limitations on money. So we don't want to like sound we're braggy or arrogant. So we're like, oh, don't talk about it. But if it's a good thing, if it's a blessing, if you're doing things, why not share that, right? So just having this environment. So we're in this development stage of what does the Legacy Wealth Project look like? Is it a group coaching program? Is it a mastermind? Is it a course? Is it all encompassing? Is this something that we want to get together? Because I'd love to get people together, like let's all go on a cruise together. And then I bring in experts in different areas and we just, have fun, but we do business together. Because I feel like entrepreneurs, you can never really go on vacation. Like you want to do work while you're on vacation because it's fun for you. So it's like doing those things together. And that's what it's developing. We're developing this right now. I'm talking with other entrepreneurs, like just like you guys, like your feedback of my 5-year-old daughter. How do we talk about this? What do we do? In my head, I'm constantly like, how could we make a program for that? How could we make a platform where your 5-year-old daughter could come and be her loving 5-year-old self, but talk about our parents and be like, dream big. What's your daughter's name, Jason?
Cecily.
Cecily, like, Cecily, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, they'll say, ballerina, whatever. Okay, what does she look like? What does she wear? Where does she live? And we expand her thinking on that dream. We don't kill it. And that's the environment that I want to do. On the opposite side, this lending side, I want to be a bank for people where I can give them access to cash, access to capital, even in like big developments, multi-million. How can I be the connector for this person to say, hey, come to this and I will, help you get the funding. And because like, and trust me, it doesn't have to have this icky, weird feeling when we're talking, multi-million dollars. Like I felt when we were doing real estate, so I want to bridge that gap and really open it up to people who are scared of it.
One of the questions I was going to ask is, how do you balance all this with your family and the work that you're doing? But, I'm starting to sense that one way to balance it is just by involving them with everything. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell us about kind of your goals for Legacy Wealth Project. Where do you want this going? Like, where do you see this in a year and 5 years?
So in a year, I would like to have really a foundation of clarity of what this looks like. Because like I said, do we do this as a mastermind? Do we do this as a group coaching program? And I see it all in one, where we do like 2 times a year we meet up, but then every month we're meeting, we're talking, we're connecting people, they're doing deals together. You come into this mastermind group and then we do, family Zoom sessions or with the kids, and we expand the thinking of our children. But when we include the parents see the vision through the kids in a different way. So I could just sell you a course and you could take it to your kids and you could show them and it'd be great. But when we involve it, even on Zoom, even virtually, when we bring them in and you can see your kids around other people and maybe they're sharing things that they've wanted to share with you, but they haven't for whatever reason, and opening that up. So I want to see entrepreneurial families connected and growing in their connections of each other. So a lot of times I see it's a lot of times male, but the male entrepreneur, they're working so hard and they're providing. And I give kudos to you guys because I know what you're thinking. I got to provide. I got to be there for my wife. I got to be there for my kids, but I got to think about wealth and I got to think about assets and I got to think about, changing, putting that toilet back together, whatever, like all the things that you guys think about. And we can say, okay, let's just alleviate the stress, come into a community, building that community of people that want to make a difference and use money as a tool and say, I'm not going to be scared of it. And how can I get my hands on some real estate? How can I teach my kids to do that? How can we replicate this for generations with kindness, philanthropy, peace, joy, having what you call the balance, but really it's balancing ourselves, making ourselves better. Can I create a community like that? And would entrepreneurs come into that? Because everybody says it sounds good, but will they come into it? And in a year from now, I want to have that be something where people are literally like on wait list. Like I want to be a part of that community because my family needs it. My business needs it. Every aspect of your life, the ROI will go up because I don't want to just help your bottom line. If your relationships suck, I have not done my job as a coach. Because relationships are the foundation of what will give you the quality of life that you desire. Even if your health is bad, people say the ones who surround them are what matter. And so those are the things that I want to bridge that gap. And that's what I literally studied for 16 years because I'm like, everyone's told me, no, you need to narrow your niche in coaching. No, you just need to focus on fitness. No, you need to just focus on, real estate, making money. But what good is it if you don't have a good relationship and then learn what it takes to have a good relationship with money if you don't have that? And if you can't include your family, it's just another mastermind, Jason, that I'm going to invite you to. And your wife and your kids are going to be in the other room your kids are going to be pounding on the door. Your wife's going to be sitting there lonely, waiting for you to get off the call. But if they can come in and they can be involved with it, man, wouldn't that be awesome? Another vacation. Honey, I'm going to another mastermind 5 days. See you later. She's thinking like, what? Like, I want to be involved, my kids want to be involved, but hey, honey, we're all going. And we're going to go and we're going to do this and we're going to have fun. And I get to learn and be a better entrepreneur. I get to be a better investor. And like, to me, that sounds like heaven. And I want to attract the entrepreneurs that see that and build a foundation. So in 5 years, we can have that already built out, like doing those things, having the infrastructure for what that looks like. I can already be so established in the lending world that money is no longer a problem for the people that are in our community. And they're like, it's just a no-brainer. And they feel safe that they can do these things and get access to cash, and they can build, and so they can focus on the principles for their kids, and they don't have to focus on the, how am I going to find this money?
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to touch upon coaching a bit as well, since you've been a fitness coach for many years. You're a life coach. You're now a business coach. I'm in a mastermind community myself, which I joined 2 years ago. Just renewed that membership yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
And prior to my world outside of a W-2 job, I didn't see coaching. I didn't get it. Like, coaches are the people that you see on TV that are screaming at a football team. And I think that the majority of adults probably don't see coaching just for what it is. They understand maybe I'll take some golf lessons, maybe I'll, work out with a trainer at the gym, but they don't see life coaching. Maybe they think it's a psychologist or new wavy or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So you said something right there where you want a community of people, to not worry so much about the money because they have it already, and then just to enjoy things together, like-minded group of people growing in the same way, continuing to grow more. I wonder, I'd love to hear what you think about this. Like, what converts people from not believing in or knowing coaching into wanting to join these communities? Because I've seen a big change in my life when I did it, and I would have never expected this 2 years ago, but it's changed both operations it's a short-term rental group called STR Secrets Mastermind. It's how I changed my operations, things I've launched since then, and now my mindset. And all those things I would have never thought would have happened because I didn't even know about the mastermind over 2 years ago. Like, are we all joining these cults? Are you a cult leader? Like, what? No, but I get it. Like, it works and it's good stuff. But how do you get the people that don't even know about it or don't believe in it to think this is a good idea?
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. Why did you join that mastermind? Like, what attracted you to that?
So I've spoken on this podcast about it, and I'll go into it really quickly so you hear it. We did short-term rentals for years on the side, and we were doing it by myself. And then when my job ended, I knew I wanted to do this full-time anyway. Rory's a real estate attorney and a real estate broker. It was just a natural step for us, so like it was chapter 2 in my book, as I say it. So I started actively seeking community related to short-term rentals. I didn't know anybody that was doing it besides myself and maybe a handful of others at real estate meetups. And just by serendipity, I met some coaches in this group. It's a national group, but they just happen to kind of be based exactly where I live. Yeah. One of the coaches was speaking at an event, Chris Petsy. He'll be on this podcast in a few months. I just talked to him a couple days ago. Like, he's a good friend of mine at this point. And he welcomed me and introduced me into this community, and I just literally make big decisions fast. I make small decisions in a glacial space, but like glacial pace, but big decisions I make quickly. Like, where am I going? Miami? Okay, I'll go to that retreat. Am I joining this mastermind? Yes, I'm going to join this mastermind. Am I going to this conference? Yes, I'm going to this conference. Like, those were just check it off the list. Yes. And then you found your way to this community of people that are doing the same thing as you, and they all want to help. Right. That's what I think was great.
And I think that's what the people that we will get into our community are the people that want to grow. A lot of time, this is why I always lead with, hey, do you want to get involved in real estate and you haven't, or you have one property, but you feel like I'm going to sell it because I can't figure this out and I'm just going to jump ship. Right. But I want to build wealth. So I talk to the entrepreneur. Do you want to build wealth for your family? Like, your hamster wheel of your income right now has no bearing, but like, do you want to build wealth for your family? And if I'm talking to someone and they're like, yes, okay, that's what's going to get them to come and talk with me. All the like, what I say about like, oh, let's go on a cruise ship or meet in Zooms. that has no premise. The only reason why I look at those details is because I want to make sure that I am serving the audience that's going to show up, but I am looking at the person who I can see in their eyes. Because even like when I was talking about something, I saw Rory kind of shake his head and laugh of, yes, when I do these things, maybe my wife is feeling lonely or, you know, on the backside and she wants to be involved, but I don't know how to involve her because I'm trying to provide and I'm trying to make these things and it's an all male mastermind or, you know, whatever. I want to bridge the gap. So I'm talking to someone and they're in pain some way. Like maybe they missed their daughter's recital because they were doing business and that kills them because they wanted to be there for her. Right. So I'm in there and I'm thinking, if I can bridge a gap for you, and this is where coaching comes in, because I'm not here to be your therapy session. We're going to figure out why you think and do what you do, but then we're moving to the next chapter. We're not going to stay there, right? And in coaching, that's the difference. We go back, we figure out, hey, what's your tie up with money, with wealth, with like the word we said, right? We're here right now. How can we move forward? We're very future focused. So I'm getting with people and this is why coaching and consulting, I present myself, especially with the Lenny, more in consulting, business consulting, because I can go in and I can say, hey, you're going to need this line of credit, or you're going to need this earnest money, or you're going to need this down payment, or you're going to need this contract or whatever. Now, why you won't do that takes coaching. I can tell you what to do. I can consult you on how to move forward, but you not moving forward, that takes coaching. Why are you at where you're at and have stayed there or gotten worse? Why have your relationships gotten worse? It's because you're uncoachable. See, when we're kids, we're coachable because we didn't know how to use the toilet. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to brush our hair. Our parents taught it. And when we learned and we did it, then they taught us again and they taught us again until it was to a level to where we could do it on our own. But as adults, we think, oh, we've got everything figured out. So why would I need that? Well, we do. We need other people. We need other perspectives. We need accountability. This is why we were created on earth and it wasn't just one person. So until you get that, then I can work on your mindset. Then I can get you, if I can show you something of, especially a monetary result right now, because people are living in scarcity. If I can show you a monetary result and then on the back end show you some relationship and advancements in your life that are going to literally affect the quality of your life in a positive way, why wouldn't you do it?
I agree with everything you said right there. And Rory, you've seen, you've seen the pre-coaching me and the post-coaching me and kind of the differences, with me and in our household too, right?
I mean, especially if you combine the community element with coaching too, because the community element shows you that it's something bigger is possible. Like when you're the real estate investor doing it on your own, you're that one person maybe in your social circle that has multiple properties, so you have to kind of speak about it sheepishly, or you're kind of bucking the trend. Why are you doing this? Even I know your parents, Jason, sometimes get worried that you have too many mortgages and it's it's too difficult. Yep. So when you jump into a community that does this, you actually might feel like you're the small one. You're the one that only has 5. You can. Something bigger is possible, and it's these people that are sitting in this room with me have done it before, and they're happy to share their experience. So it's either, I suppose, for some people that might be intimidating, but I think for most it's going to be inspirational.
It changes your belief, and your beliefs are what directs your life. Bottom line. So when you can get into these rooms, when you can switch, I've joined masterminds with a goal in mind, like, okay, I'm joining this mastermind to earn this money or whatever. And then what I got out of that mastermind was completely different. I was like, oh my gosh, but that's exactly what I needed. And there were things that I joined a speaker mastermind, and the ways that it has affected me and the non-speaking world is crazy. Like the relationships and the path that I have been on, even with this project. And even with me podcasting, we have a podcast. Like that was not because I went to the speaker mastermind to learn speaking. It was because I met someone in there that kept me accountable and said, hey, remember you were going to join, you were going to do this, you were going to do this. So we never know where it leads. But I think to get the person into it, it has to be something that they think is painful. Like I've always wanted to invest in real estate, or, oh my gosh, I'm drowning in taxes. Like that's something else that we talk heavily, or we will talk heavily, is tax strategy, and why the wealthy are wealthy because of tax strategy. Their tax strategies with real estate, like it just is. And so teaching them that. So if they have taxes where they're paying out $40, $50, $100,000 in taxes every year, and they're getting crushed by the IRS, they're going to come into our group just for that reason. But they're going to stay because of community and connection and what it does for their quality of life on the other side of it.
Let's finish up with our final questions, and then we can learn more about where to get a hold of the Legacy Wealth Project and where people could reach out to you, Tab, online, because, your mission and what you're putting together sounds fantastic. And I'm sure there are people listening to this. And if you made it to this point of the episode, you're leaning in, excited to change your life and do things like this with somebody like Tabitha. But we ask these questions of all of our guests. So
yes.
Great way to wrap the interview up and learn more about you. The first one, if you can get on stage for half an hour and talk about any subject in the world with no preparation, what would it be?
Legacy wealth, scarcity, abundance. Just the mindset behind it, and that I could just talk. Yeah.
You're pretty dialed in on this conversation topic.
Yeah.
Second question, tell us something that happened early in your life or career that impacts the way you're working today.
In my life would be my dad working so many hours and being scarce in my life. That has dictated and directed every single decision I've made, even with my husband and everything. Like my goal has always been to connect my daughters to their father. I have a great relationship with my dad now, but growing up, I AKA hated him because all I wanted was time with him. And that's the one thing I didn't get. And he was stressed out, and he was a very hard man because he was so stressed out. And because I was open to a relationship with him and I allowed the healing process, we have a phenomenal relationship today. And so I always tell dads, if you feel like this is you, there's always redemption. Because I was 21 years old before our relationship shifted, and then it shifted completely 360. Like he became like my best friend. So there's always hope. So don't ever think like, oh my gosh, I've ruined my kids. No, you haven't. There's always redemption there. But that has been something that has really, I can never say I wish my dad was different, because it's led me to where my life is today. And I believe it led me to my husband, who is such a pivotal part of my life. And so I thank him for that, even though it was very painful growing up.
I'll share that our daughter sees us staring at screens as working, right? So when she sees, and she's mentioned this, I mean, like after pre-K, in the questionnaire that they filled out, it was obvious that, work is kind of what our her dads do. And even this morning, like, she got up early today. I mean, I usually like getting up early, like 5:30, just so I could work for like an hour and change before she gets up and other people are up. Today she was up early, and I'm on the computer, and she's like, I want you to sit next to me. And like, she just wanted me to sit right next to her and watch Tinkerbell, whatever the heck we were watching. And it's hard to do all the time, but I have to remember that that's really what she wants right that second, and we're not going to have these days back. Nope. So, I don't wrestle with it. I just say, hey, listen, I'm finishing this thing up, but I'll come right over. Yep. And then if I forget, she'll remind me. You said you're going to sit with me. I'm like, I'm coming, I promise. But
yes, of course.
Yeah. Final question. Tell us something you're listening to or watching or reading these days.
Okay, so I'm rereading the book Blue Fishing, The Art of Getting Things Done. And I've read that book before. I love it. Sims is the author, and he's great. And I just love the way that he writes and stuff like that. So that's what I'm currently reading. And then I'm doing a new, like I said, this lending program. A lot of your listeners probably know who Pace Morby is. He has a Gator method out there, and just learning how to lend to other people in real estate spaces and stuff like that. That's right now my all-consuming. But then I'm constantly watching and listening to speakers, because I'm a speaker. And so I love to listen to how I can be more effective as a speaker or a podcast guest, how I can be more effective for other people, so that I can have more impact, because it's not about me when I'm speaking. And so it's like, how can I be more effective in my relationships, in my communication? And that's an ongoing, that's every day for me. It's I can listen to stuff on Spotify, on YouTube, watching speakers, listening to speakers. I listen to a lot of preachers because some of them are the best speakers in the world and they're very effective. So like when you mentioned cults, I was like, I'm just doing some deep dive on persuasion and, why people, high level people, even like Hitler, how they were able to use their communication in a negative way, but how we can take that and use it in a positive way. So that's what I do. That's what I love. That's what I'm really passionate about is that. I mean, I talk about legacy wealth, but that I really love as well.
But you communicate it, right? Like you're learning communication and better communication, and really good orators communicate their message well, even if what they say is not true.
Right.
If they sell it, people believe it.
Yep.
I saw Pace Morby speak also back in the spring. He's a really good speaker in person.
He's a
I don't know if you've seen
very
him.
good communicator. Very good.
Yeah, he's very good. He did something where he was going to give a presentation, and clearly his presentation was this. Then he scrapped the presentation and just kind of told a story instead. Yep. And he made it seem as though that's what he was doing live, as the keynote for this short-term rental conference I went to. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, that was his keynote. Like his keynote was to pretend like he scrapped the keynote and then just, went off the cuff. And he was really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, the good ones are.
All right, great. Well, Tab, tell us where people can learn more about Legacy Wealth Project, learn more about you, and get involved.
So keeplegacywealth.com is the website where you can find, as we develop this program and your interest in it, I have like some freebies on there. If you're someone who's like, I give like the 5 things that we look for when buying our first income property, because that's the question we always get is, what do you look for in a property? So we have a freebie on there. And then as we come with lending, you can click on that to figure out, like, if you're someone who's like, Tab, I can't find the money. Like, I need the money. Just click on that. That's all on keeplegacywealth.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Tabitha Thorell, and YouTube. Our podcast is on there, and as well as upcoming trainings and information on, like I said, getting access to cash. How can I buy my first property? What should I do? Where should I start? All of those things, all the questions. They're already on YouTube, people. You don't have to go to my channel, but you can go to my channel and you can find those resources there too.
All right, links for all of that will be in the show notes for this episode, and I strongly encourage you to follow Tab on Instagram at the very least, so you'll learn a little bit more about what she's talking about. But this is all fantastic information, and it brings the why into focus as to why we're doing what we're doing as real estate investors, as entrepreneurs, as people looking to do it the right way, which is why that's the law side of this, because we all do it legally. Rory, where can people learn about you?
You can come find me in my law practice. That's Urban Village Legal, urbanvillagelegal.com.
All right. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, you can go to realestate.podcast.com, fill out a form, let us know who you are and what you want to speak about, and we will get back to you if we think it'll be a good episode topic. If you have watched this, you could also subscribe to the audio version on Spotify or Apple. We love it if you give us a review, 5-star reviews, all your comments, we read them. And thank you for listening. We really appreciate it that you've made it this far in the episode. And if you have, go down and click on those links that we're linking in there so you can learn more about Tab, because that's really who you want to talk to. You don't want to talk to us. You hear us in every episode. So, Tabitha, thank you so much for all your time today. Thank you for really bringing all this into focus and sharing a new perspective on something that we've not talked about on this podcast before.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.